Your Excellency, the Minister of Finance, Governor of the Valle de Cauca, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's an extremely great pleasure for me to be standing here today and welcoming you to CIAT, to this beautiful campus, to this beautiful room, on the occasion of the 50th anniversary. So welcome to everyone here. And I believe we're also being projected elsewhere, so to those of you watching on the screen, welcome to you too. We're very fortunate today that this meeting, this celebration, coincides with a meeting of what's called the Systems Council. This is if you like, the highest body of the CGIAR, which is the parent organization. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, to which CIAT belongs, to which CIAT is a major institute. The System Council is the body that sets the highest levels of policies. It's also a major forum for our donors. So we have here today a number of representatives from those agencies which have supported CIAT for the last 50 years. Many of you have actually supported for a large percentage of that 50 years. So I think my first duty here is to thank you all very much for that support, and we look forward to it continuing in the future. We have, of course, here a large number of staff, but we also have many of our partners from around the world. And we have, sorry, I've lost my place on here. We're partners and colleagues. Sorry, a number of you I know have been here, past staff here. Many of you are emeritus. That means you're here. We're honoring you for your support of CIAT in the past. I first visited CIAT in the early 1980s. That's more than 30 years ago. And I've watched CIAT change dramatically over that period. In fact, there's one thing that characterizes CIAT. It's its ability to change, its ability to adapt to new situations. I've watched major developments over that period of time that have taken place in the crop improvement programs. That's programs on beans, on cassava, on forages, on rice, all of which, over that period of time, have had a major impact around the world. And you'll be hearing much about that impact in the course of today and tomorrow. The gene bank, an extremely important gene bank, part of the global system of conserving agrobiodiversity. It underpins the breeding programs, the programs, crop improvement programs I've mentioned, and it's the basis on which we can move forward into the future, building new varieties that hopefully will continue to have the kind of impact that work has had to date. CIAT is well known around the world for its work on beans, on cassava, on forages, on rice. But it's much more than that. CIAT was established 50 years ago, not as a center just to do plant breeding, but as what is referred to quite widely now as an eco-regional center. It's a center that focuses on farming systems for particular parts of the world. It's an ecosystem center established originally with a focus on Latin America, but over the years has branched out, particularly in the 90s and 2000s, moving major programs, building major work in Africa, and more recently, building very significant work, particularly on cassava, but increasingly on other areas in Asia as well. And you'll be hearing again much more about the way in which the program has consolidated and has built into a truly global center. I've seen CIAT as a pioneer institution. It was one of the very first centers in the CGIAR system and of any research institute around the world, one of the very early ones to start looking seriously at the whole issue of farming systems, as opposed to just taking a single crop approach. It stressed early on, one of the first centers, to realize the extreme importance of taking gender into consideration in the research. It was a pioneer in the whole area of participatory research. That's involving farmers, involving end users in the research process. It's been a pioneer in the whole area of soil fertility, and most recently, climate change. And probably more recently still, as we'll be hearing later, on the whole area of handling huge data sets, often referred to as big data. But CIAT could not achieve this on its own. It's only been able to move ahead, to have its impact through working with others. I mentioned that CIAT is a member of the CGIAR. That's a group now of 15 centers located around the world, on each of which has a different mandate, a different focus on the different regions and on different crops, on different commodities, on different systems. CIAT was one of the first 4, in fact, of these centers to be established. But the system as a whole remains some of our major partners. And it's very encouraging that over recent years, the CG has taken big efforts to try and integrate the work of the different centers, to strengthen the partnerships among the centers, so that collectively the 15 centers are truly a system that work at one. And CIAT, I'm delighted to say, has been one of those centers that has been particularly active in trying to promote this greater system as a whole. But of course, that's only part of the partnerships that are so important to our work. Perhaps most important of all in the work that we do at the coalface is the work with our national partners, the national agricultural programs in particular. And one of those I'd like to single out here, of course, is here in Colombia. Being based in Colombia over this 50 years, we have forged, I think, a very strong, very good working relationship, partnership with the national program Copa Rica, and I'm delighted to welcome the director of Copa Rica here, who is also a member of the CIAT board. So thank you. It's a partnership which I would really like to highlight, because to me, if I look across the CG centers, it's probably one of the best, one of the strongest relationships of any international center with a national program. So, but it's not the only one. We partner with many national programs in Latin America, in Africa, and increasingly in Asia. We also depend for our research on partnerships with advanced institutions around the world, with private sector organizations, with non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations. Many of you here, I know, represent some of these very wide range of partners that we have around the world, and I'd like to again acknowledge your extremely important role in the work that is going to be presented and discussed over the coming days. And when I look at CIAT, I see sort of 3 major characteristics, perhaps, that shine through to me. One is the continual striving to make sure that the research that is being done is relevant, that it really addresses real and important challenges. Secondly, innovation. CIAT is, to me, one of the most innovative of the centers. It's been a pioneer, an early adopter in many, many areas. And finally, quality. I think the quality of the research that's being done here at CIAT is truly world-class. So these 3 issues, relevance, innovation, and quality, I think are characteristics we see in CIAT today, and ones which we think will drive and underpin the future work. Because the 50th anniversary that we're celebrating here is not only a chance for us to discuss and explain and showcase some of what we believe are some of the most, some really exciting impacts that the Institute has had. But it's a chance to take stock and say, okay, well, where do we go from here? And we know in this room are some of the major thinkers in agricultural research. And we look on this chance as a chance to interact with you, to pick your brains, to get your ideas on where CIAT can and should be going in the future. A future that we hope is in line with the motto for this meeting of a sustainable food system for all. I thank you for your attention.